Good morning, welcome, welcome, good morning, and welcome to another episode of Speaking Out, exposing corruption and incompetence. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I said good morning, but good afternoon. I know people are here from the UK, people are here from other parts of the globe. So, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Welcome, welcome to this wonderful day. Another episode that I'm sure that you're going to find very, very interesting. We have some very nice subjects to deal with. And gloves are off today, The gloves are off today. Today we're gonna get into the trenches and we're gonna deal with it. We're gonna deal with them. We're gonna deal with issues this morning. So yes, welcome, welcome. I always encourage you to share the live, let people know that we are ready and raring to go. My colleague is already in the studio, setting back as he put on the gloves. So he joining in the fight today. So yes, we are here today, Wednesday, the 9th day of August in the year of our Lord 2023. And they say, let's get ready to rumble, Michael Boffer. So yes, share the live, let people know that we are all set and ready to go. I know the usual suspects are all here. The classroom, the courtyard, the class yard, the schoolyard, full with students. And as soon as the doors are open, so they're rushing to get their preferred seats to be comfortable and to be able to get the information. And like everything else, we are not going to disappoint you. Cheryl, good to see you in the front seat. Cheryl says she's in the front seat. We are not going to disappoint you. So share the live. The numbers are already mounting. It's an amazing thing. From the time, as I indicate, from the time the program is scheduled, those who are on YouTube will log in very early, 2-3 hours before classes, sometimes even longer than that. And when we go live at 11 o'clock, the Facebookers are here running in with the numbers to make sure they get a preferred seat. So yes, share the live, let people know that we're on. And we have to give time for the amphibians. They have been coming out in recent times, one and two of them, and they tell me how ugly, and they make all kind of issue. Well, I don't want to be a nice boy, because when you are a nice boy, we know what they do. They duck and they be, according to Modwata. They duck and they be. There's them nice boy. So we don't want to be that. We want to be here to give you proper information, and that is the objective of this program. We want to teach, and I implore the young policemen to listen today again, because we have some teaching subjects. We have some subjects I'm sure that you are going to learn from, because unfortunately these things are no longer taught in the training school. They don't have instruction classes. They don't have interaction with the seniors and the juniors to let them know what real policing is, because they themselves, in many cases, they don't know what real policing is. So we're going to use this forum to make sure that we educate you, the younger members, and the members of the public, because many of these things, members of the public need to know their rights, and we are going to bring it to you. As I've said, one of the important things in the morning, once class starts, we have to have our roll call, and we will have our roll call in a short while. We'll have our roll call, and then we're going to go into the other parts of the program. So share the live, let people know that we are on and we are ready to go. When I posted the notification for the program, this program was posted yesterday morning. I indicated to you that one of the main subjects we're going to deal with is the purported extension of the man who sits in the office. Now we're going to delve into it. We're going to tell you what the Constitution says. Are we going to deal with the legality of such a move, if indeed there is such a move? So don't sit down, get your course, get your popcorn, get whatever snack you are you like, and we're going to tell you the real thing. And we continue to say, and we continue to challenge them, to challenge anything that we say on this program as being untruthful and false. They come and they attack the messenger or the messengers, but they can't deal with the message. And I said this repeatedly, and I'm saying it again, that I will continue to speak the truth. Who vex lose? It doesn't matter to me that they vex and they are annoyed and they get the sycophants to write a lot of crap on social media and so on. I'm going to deal with them. I'm not afraid of anyone. I'm not afraid of anyone. I'm not afraid of anything. God is the man who is in charge of everything. And as I said, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Let's be glad to be in the land of the living. Let's celebrate being in the land of the living. Because when you look around the country, it's almost every day murder, road accidents. Look, only this morning I was reading a young lady at someone that is telling fell overboard and died. Yesterday again, 2 children born to death in some home at Mobley's. Every day is some tragedy. And that is why we're saying that you have to celebrate and give thanks to the Lord for allowing you to see another day and to be in the land of the living. So let's celebrate, let's rejoice. I'm rejoicing, I'm celebrating, and I implore you to do the same. Well, let me do a roll call, and then after roll call, we'll swing into the meat. We swing in, nothing to talk about today again. So buckle up and be ready to go. Where we went this morning, as you would see, we had Barbara came in class very early. Barbara was the first person there. Then John is a regular, always here in the mornings. Kenneth came in, family music. And Kenneth says that he's from Maryland, Washington, Maryland, Fort Washington, Maryland. Family music was here. Sean came in early again this morning. And he said he's offering condolences to the brother who passed away last Thursday. I suspect he's referring to Mr. Sam. We'll deal with it shortly. Princess from Lamar Spring, 6123, she's here. Yvonne is in class. Carlton, my squad mate, 9430, always here. Then we had Natasha, Jean, Leon is here too. Leon Lamy used to say from Turkine. I don't know if he's still at that location, but Leon is here. Maureen came into class. Aileen, I got to talk a little bit about the cricket in a short while. Aileen, then we had Como, 8218, old police, 8218, always here. Patricia came into class, reporting early and eagerly awaiting. Desiree was here. Sherrod, Pito, 8152, Pito, always from Queens, New York. Then we had Francis. Wayne is from the UK. I know the names so well now. Wayne is from the UK. Welcome, Wayne. Joan came in class. Tessa, another regular. Don't miss class at all. Very good student. David, he says he's from, David says he's waiting in Mazaruni. Hope you're not a prisoner, David. Hope you're not a prisoner. David from Mazaruni. Then we had Cecile came in telling us about the delightful Wednesday. Yes, it is indeed. Francis Keith was here from Melanie Damashana on the East Coast. Not far away from where I am. I'm a BV man. You're from Melanie. Then we had Sydney, Jason. Then all the way from Toronto, my favorite lawyer, Mr. Selvin Peters, was here very early. Toronto in the house. Then we had my squad mate, 9556, Glaston Taylor, and he's saying that he was in Guyana recently. And yes, we had a long conversation. Yes, it's good to have been able to chat with you, Squaddy. Then we have Ruth. Then the next countryman of mine, George. George is here this morning in class as well. Courtney came into class. Pamela came in. Raul in class, present. They are present, man. They're present. Then Doreen, another squad mate, W349. She's from Canada. She's here. And then Ainsworth came in and he's reminding me he's K-foot. I remember, Ainsworth, I know you well. Not only did I know that you're K-foot, I also remember your regulation number, 12505 Mason, sir. Yeah, so you're here. Welcome, K. Sandra is here. Another old TSU, Colin Stanford. Winston is in class. Lucius is in class. Isabella came in class and she said she was outside. My another colleague from Toronto, 9795, Terrence Young, always, even during the week, he would hit me up with this information and so on. Then we have Pauline came in. Brian is in class. Clay from Bobby's. I know if you don't even still Bobby's. I remember you, Clay Bowl, traffic man from Bobby's. Anthony is in class. Earl in class. Sheena is in class. Danny, good to see you, Danny. 9731, reporting for duty. Very good athlete, very good detective. And then when I was commander A division, Danny was there with me at the command level in A division. So good to see you, Danny. Ulrich, another man who worked with me, West Demerara and elsewhere. Good man, Ulrich. Then we had Chisel, Chipper 68 came in. Then we have Evelyn, Gordon, Chilo, the one and only Chilo is here very early. John Knights is here very early. Welcome, John. Welcome, Stian. Stian came in. Stian is a man. He is on YouTube. He's also on Facebook. Shemlin was in class. Denise is in class. Oren from the UK. Check in. Welcome. And then when we went live on a few minutes ago, William was the first person to come in. Then we had Althea, Joan, Lynette from Barbados. Then the next Facebooker, Letitia, came in. I tell you what, Stian came in again from Facebook. So you ain't missing it, Facebook and YouTube. Cheryl, welcome, Cheryl. We had Rhonda, Colin, Popo. I remember you well, Carlton, rather, 0717 Anthony. Canty is here. Yeah. So we have persons. Look at the names, man. Look at the names. Everybody coming in. Carol, regular Carol. Then we have Elise is here as well. Elise is here. Welcome, one and all. But now we move in, and then we're gonna deal some shout out a little later. I want to start by we all on this sad note. Before I go to the sad note, I said the cricket fans are here. I'm sure they have a lot to celebrate because West Indies won 2 games in the current series. They won the first 2 in the level series yesterday. We'll pull back 1 yesterday. And then they have all to play for now in Florida over the weekend. So the cricket fans have something to look forward to because 3 games have been played and the series has not been decided. So you still have some hopes. One of the things I've been reading about the cricket, so embarrassing yesterday, the game at Providence, in that when the players were ready to start the game, only then they discovered that the 30-meter circle wasn't identified. So they had to wait for that. That is embarrassing. Those things are basic things. But, things go wrong all over. But somehow, like every time you get any event in Guyana, like something going wrong. So these things you need to look at because it is highlighted in the international media and it makes the country look bad. So you have to look out for these things. You have to look out for these things. And then the sad news is that, let me start first with the older guys may remember the Hilton Lewis. Used to call him Champ. He was the uncle of the late Commissioner Larry Leland Lewis, Hilton Lewis. He died recently at the age of 104. They said he was a big-time athlete and all of that. I remember seeing him walking around all over the place. 104. God bless him. And finally decided that he should go home. Right, so yeah, Champ has passed. And then we had the tragic death of Orlato Sam, former chief education officer, who was shot and killed early Friday morning outside a bar in Pleasance. We're going to go into that a little more as we go along. We're going to go into it. But it is so sad. Such a brilliant mind has been taken away so foolishly. Man shot and killed. As I said, we're going to discuss the details a little later. I want to take this opportunity to express condolences to the relatives, friends, and family of the deceased persons, Mr. Lewis and Mr. Sam. So it's really, really, really sad. Friday morning, when I pick up the news, I go into the social media to see that I knew Olato was shot and killed senselessly. So let me bring in my colleague, and then we are going to go full into the program. CC, welcome, CC.
Good morning. I'm happy to be in the land of the living. My sympathy to the relatives and family of Mr. Lewis and Olato. I can recall, I met Olato years ago whilst I was in training through Mr. Samuel Small, my mentor, a man who got a national award for adult education in Guyana. Please, in Guyana, a Caribbean award, and was on the world body that dealt with adult education, talking Mr. Samuel Small. So he introduced me to Olatu. And when I wanted to upgrade the competences of my instructors, I contacted him and he gave me some valuable information, We talk about presentation skills, and he said, tell me that, hey, that you must use different methods of instruction, things like role play, demonstration, hands-on learning, case study, simulation, discussion, and then a whole other thing there. And he was very, very helpful, and I engaged him on numerous occasions. I'm sad that he has gone to on the way beyond, but perhaps there are times when the ripest fruit falls for us.
Yeah, so but it feels sad. Not only a loss to his family, but a loss to the whole system, a loss to the country. And before I move on, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate my, Dudley from Jamaica. Jamaica recently celebrated the independence anniversary. I think it was on the 6th of August. They gained independence, I see, in 1962, 4 years before Guyana. So to Dudley and all Jamaicans, because all Jamaicans are in the program, congratulations to you guys on your independence anniversary. But and going forward, CC, as a result, I can't say as a result of Mr. Sam's death, but shortly thereafter, the Georgetown Chambers of Commerce and Industry issued a press release, and it was clear they were referring to that. It was clear that they were referring to the death of Mr. Sam, and they issued a statement which I think it's important for us to read, because the police will have one story. They continue to tell us that crime is done, even though the last time they released, they indicated that murders were up by 32%, and traffic accident was up by a large number as well. But yet they tell you that the crime is serious crime. Serious crimes are done. I don't know who they're fooling, but here what they in a long statement, so I think I should read it to you. They issued a statement on the 4th of August. The full statement says, the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry, GCCI, notes with intense concern the level of crime being perpetrated in Guyana, more particularly in recent times. While the Guyana Police Force has posited that their official crime statistics indicate a decline in crime, the GCCI view this as not reflecting the reality of the prevailing circumstances. Rather, and alarmingly so, the GCCI view the decline in official statistics as demonstrative of a loss in confidence in the Guyana Police Force and reflective on an underreporting of criminal perpetration. Thus, the Chamber of Commerce calls on the Guyana Police Force to adjust its lax posture on crime and echoes the sentiment recently expressed by the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs to clamp down on the lawless malaise existing in daily life. Then they go on to say lawlessness creates the condition under which crime flourishes. The GCCI remains extremely concerned that should criminal acts continue unabated, that a conducive environment for doing business in Guyana will begin to erode and loss or bodily harm of Guyana's most valuable resources, its people, will be damaging to our prospects for economic development. That's the statement from the GCCI. And I am saying, as we have said before, that you cannot believe the police statistics because they're ghosting the figures. And those of us who live in the country know the fear of being victimized by criminal elements. We know it's there. And there's another statement too. Is where let me pull it before I bring in Mr. Conway. Starbrook News had an editorial a few days ago, right? They had an editorial and they spoke about the situation and the response to. Let me have it here. Let me read just a little part. They said that let me read what they said. They're claiming that a gentleman, a former president of the chambers, who was also skating in his remarks about the crime situation. mentioning a migrant from Venezuela who was killed by bicycle bandits. And they said they reported that recently. He's saying that while saying the police have recorded a decline in crime, the residents of Lamar Gardens complained to the top cop that they can't walk day or night. And then this man quoted the commissioner response as saying, that is the man who sits in the chair, as saying, stats show differently. Well, stats show different. And we have to accept that we will be subject to depressed communities. And hear what Sabrok News went on to say. If that is really how he responded, referring to the man who sits in the chair, then there is some basis for Mr. Stocker's comment that there was a need for a change in the leadership of the Guyana Police Force. We're going to talk about that leadership thing a little later. Mr. Conway, I'm sure you would have seen the GCCI statement. I'm sure you would have seen what the remarks after Mr. Sam's killing. And again, we come back to the figures. They are saying that these figures are their figures are reflective of crime being under control. Where they live? Where do people live, Mr. Conway?
That is not reality, That is not reality. And they ghosting. They cocking the stats. The stats are not a true reflection of the crime situation in the country. Paul are dealing with 11 crimes. And those were crimes identified by Larry Lewis over 30 years ago. And let me list them. Murder, robbery under arms, robbery where other instruments are used, robbery with aggravation, robbery with violence, larceny from the person, rape, burglary, kidnapping. And in their list, robbery has taken up 5. You got robbery under arms, robbery where other instruments used, robbery with aggravation, robbery with violence. So offenses under the Sexual Offences Act, apart from rape, are not considered serious crime. Domestic violence, not considered serious crime. Unlawful possession of firearm, not considered serious crime. Manslaughter, not considered serious crime. Dangerous drugs, not considered serious crime. Trafficking in person, not considered serious crime. Felonious wounding, not considered serious crime. Cyber crimes not considered as serious crime. So they have their own category that they are using and misleading this nation that crime is under control. Crime and the fear of crime is prevalent in this country. And the crime rate is extremely high. They're saying, hey, that crime is down, but the capital offense, murder, is up by 30-something%. And they have seized more firearms during the year, illegal firearm, than they did last year. And if you compare it with last year is still extremely high. So low crime rate doesn't mean that the police is efficient and effective. High arrest rate does not necessarily show that the police are doing a good job. A high ratio of police officers to citizens does not necessarily mean the high quality police service. Responding quickly to service doesn't necessarily mean that the police doing a good job. What they're doing, they are tabulating events of certain crimes, tabulating events. But that does not mean to say that the police are efficient and effective. What they need to know, what they need to do is to go to their mandate. What the law says, and I'm going to read what the law says about the police, the role of the police. Section 3.2 of the Police Act, Chapter 1601. Here is what the police has to do. The force shall be employed for the prevention and detection of crime, the preservation of law and order, the preservation of the peace, the repression of internal disturbances, the protection of property, the apprehension of offenders, and the due enforcement of all laws and regulations which it is directly charged, and shall perform such military duties again as may be required with under the authority of the minister. So that is the role the police has got to play. and it's laid down in law. And how do you know whether or not they're doing it? Go to the community, go to the public, and find out how well you are doing. Do as I always said, do citizen survey. Find out from the citizens how well you are doing. Look at their mission statement, and they changed their mission statement recently, and it's perhaps is more confidential than the last report. They change their mission statement, and they're not achieving what is laid down in law. They're not achieving their mission. All they're doing is tabulating events with the intention. They look at percentage increase and percentage decrease. They need to go deeper than that. I remember years ago when we had the citizen security program was on, they had established what we call the ICIS. We call it ISIS. We said we had ISIS in Guyana, Integrated Crime Information System, where the information was sent to the Ministry of Affairs, and where they had some persons who were there doing an analysis. The thing is that we should have had a real-time analysis of what is happening in the crime scene. But I don't know what happened with that ICIS. It had reached a stage where we used to have monthly reports, and where the Home Affairs was giving us medicinally by bits and pieces. I had said and I had maintained that the control of that ICS should reside with the police and not the Ministry of Home Affairs. And I think that's where it is. That they need to do deeper analysis. They need to look at trends. They need to do a pattern. Ask yourself, is this a series? Is this a spree? Where are the hot spots? And they need to use the data to inform, to make proper decisions. What are they doing? Oh, we had 12 murder last year, we get 16 this year, or we getting this. That is not proper policing. And there's something we call the crime triangle: the victim, the suspect, and the locations. Most of the effort is spent on the victim and the suspect, while the location is left untouched. And the location is where things are happening. When you do a bit of management, strategic management, they tell you there is where something you call a pistol. Things happen politically, economically, socially, technologically, legally, and environmentally. And those things are mitigating against crime. And there's where the role of the police comes in, where there's a model in crime called COPS, community-oriented policing and problem solving, where the police has got to get involved in the community with not only solving crime, but solving problems in the community. We call it COPS, community-oriented policing and problem solving. The last man who was doing a lot of good work was Senior Superintendent Stephen Mansell. And since Mansell left as commander, I can't recall any other commander doing those kind of things. You got to involve the community in not only solving crime, but also problems. And there is where you have to look at the pistol, things that happen politically, economically, socially, technologically, legally, and environment that is affecting crime, that is mitigating against crime. And that's where you got to look at, not just a percentage increase and percentage decrease. Not just tabulating things. They got to go deeper and deeper and do broader and deeper analysis of the crime situation if we want to reduce crime. Otherwise, so that we end up in the same boat all the time.
Well, as I say, if you keep doing the same thing and expect to get different results, you're a madman. And let me say this: when we talk about the crimes, they talk about murder. And Stabrook Hughes made the point that perhaps it's time they, instead of having a category murder, they should have a category that is called homicide, because homicide is more wide ranging. Because when you talk about murder, what happened to all those manslaughter cases? What happened to all those manslaughter cases? We know that a large number of cases where murder is charged, when they get to the court, people are convicted for manslaughter. How is that recorded? And the next thing when they talk about clear up rate, and I have said this all along, you clear for the police, for the people in the Guyana police force, the senior people I'm referring to in particular, clear up to them is once a person is arrested. Once a person is arrested, they say, well, the crime is solved. But then we know that a lot of the people who are arrested walk free. They walk free. So at the end of the day, they don't look at conviction, which is a very important metric in this whole thing. You got to talk about conviction. The judge on the CCJ, Justice Witt, not so long ago remarked that in Guyana, you have a lot of cases before the court that are thrown out following no case submissions. It simply means that they are saying it cleared up, but when it gets to the magistrate, it can't go in any further because there's no prima facie case and the matters go overboard. So they have to look at this thing very holistically. And I made the comment a while ago, and I read the statement from GCCI. Some people might not know who the GCCI represent, but the GCCI is the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and they represent, according to the information on their website, over 700 businesses in Georgetown, over 700, and they talk about 40 categories, ranging from services, shipping, real estate, security, marketing, all of those things, healthcare and industry. So the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce has a very wide coverage. So when they speak, they're speaking on behalf of a lot of people, most of the businesses in Georgetown, and they're saying that notwithstanding what the police are trying to tell us about crime being done, that is not the reality. And again, in the article from the editorial from Stabrook, we identified some of them. And if you recall, you get a paper shot killing, couple hundred or 200 yards from the official residence of the president. People shoot down a man with an assault rifle. Can't be solved up to now. You have, if I recall correctly, you had a man around Christmas time whose throat was slit in Regent Street, in busy Regent Street. Somebody walk up to you, slit his throat. And that is the man who they said was involved in, or alleged to be involved in some thieving of some big set of gold. I think it was $400 million worth of gold that cut it through. We had a man in Diamond, not so long ago, laid down at home. Two men roll up in a car, ask see, the wife said he was not home. They barge into the home, they shot and kill him. Then we had a man on Dorman Street, I think Dorman Street as was. Some man doing contract or cleaning drain or something. People roll up, shot him dead. Then a man sitting, this was, I think they said, a Brazilian national, sitting in a pickup in Regent Street some time ago. People roll up with an AK-47 or some similar weapon, shot him dead. So when people see these things, you can't come and tell people, oh, things are okay. Everywhere you have depressed communities everywhere and all of that. That is no solution to this problem. And this thing is worrying. When we look, and we're going to talk about Mr. Sam's case in a while ago, because when you look at how Mr. Sam was killed, the man sit down at a bar having a drink with his friends. And according to the report, two men fighting across the road, somehow bullet rang out, Sam fall along, Sam is dead. So you can't just sit back. This thing is very worrying. And then to me, a very worrying part as well is that you're not hearing anything from the man who sits in the chair. You're not hearing anything from the government, the president. You're not hearing anything from the Minister of Home Affairs. They have National Security Advisor and all of that. And Stabrook News in the same editorial made the point, the last paragraph, you must read this thing. The last paragraph, they said, at the beginning of this year, at the beginning of 2023, following a spate of murders, President Irfan Ali said he was awaiting a full report from the police concerning the execution-style killing that had taken place since the start of this year. And then they go on to say nothing more has been heard from him on that subject. So 8 months down the road, nothing more. And that is it. That is it. They come out and they make statements and nothing happens thereafter. But let me move on, CC. Let me move on. Unless you want to say anything more on that.
Yeah, I just want to recall that I think early this year or late last year, the crime chief, Senior Superintendent Blanham, boasted all of the murders, 80% of the persons, 80% persons were charged. The thing is that charging is not solving the crime. He boasting that the charging 80%, and the thing that's clear up. A clear-but rate is when you go in front of the court and you get conviction. And it reminds me, you know the commander well, where the commander in Barbies, and when they had robberies and this thing, he used to publish in the papers so many persons arrested, also the person we arrested, and ask so much go to court. Ask so much when the court body make a whole set of arrests. So the thing is it's not charging persons, it's getting the conviction. Yeah.
You're so right. It's about being able to convict persons, and we have seen, for whatever reason, a lot of the people who are charged, including persons charged for murder, they spend 4 or 5 years in prison, and then we have had cases where the trial judge had to remark that there was no evidence at all against these people, and the prosecutors from the DPP's chamber had to agree that there's no evidence. So, this thing is a very worrying thing. Again, I say, because they will tell you and that our persons are charged. In this case, in Mr. Sam's case, they claim that 2 persons were arrested. And that was since last week, 2 persons arrested. We haven't heard anything further about these 2 persons who were arrested. And I made the point, I said, I hope they're not going to tell us at some stage that someone or both of them confessed to firing this gun that shoot the man. Because looking at this case is a case that needs to be solved. And you can't solve this even if you get a confession statement. By confession statement alone, you have to get scientific evidence. And here what happens? Here, again, sometimes I got to read these things to you all and invite you to go on Google and search these things. Because this is the 8th, yesterday, Starbrook News article. Pleasance laborer shot during police operations over Olato Sam's killing. That is what the headline is. And it goes on to say this. A 22-year-old Pleasance laborer suffered a gunshot wound to his right thigh on Saturday during a police operation in relation to the killing of former Chief Education Officer Olato Sam. The police were in an unmarked vehicle conducting surveillance for the suspect in Sam case. A police statement said that a .32 pistol without serial number and 2 rounds were recovered. And hear the story. Here, listen carefully. And it's there says, so if I had written something like this, I would have started off by saying Mariddle, Marie. But it's them writing, so I'm not going to say that. It says, the police statement said that a gazetted officer and a party of ranks were in a surveillance operation in Pleasance in the vicinity of Robert Road at about 21:15 hours. The 22-year-old laborer who resides at the same address was seen standing at the side of the road next to a fence. The ranks exited the vehicle and the suspect started to walk away and went through a small opening in the fence. The ranks shouted for the suspect to stop, but the police said that he reached into his waist and pulled out what seemed, and I quote that, what seemed to be a firearm. A rank discharged 1 round, which hit the suspect in his right thigh, and he fell into a clump of bushes. Meanwhile, a crowd comprising mostly of family members of the suspect converged and were behaving in a disorderly manner, the police said. The suspect was picked up and escorted to the GP8C, that is the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. Ranks later returned to the scene and searched the area where the suspect was shot. A .32 pistol without serial number and 2 rounds were recovered. The firearm was taken to the Sparnam police station. The suspect was admitted a patient to the hospital and is under police guard in a stable condition. Investigations are ongoing. Well, look, let me tell you something. You're telling me this story, unbelievable. You had an operation to apprehend the suspect. The man walked away, you see, and then you said you pursued him, and he put the hand in his pants waist, and you believe that he pull out what seemed to be a gun. You pull out what seemed to be a gun. You shoot in the foot, he fall long. Yes, you got to render assistance, but you're not going to try to at the same time recover this thing where you seem to be a gun. But no, almost immediately, according to them, family members, how do they know it's family members? Family members emerged and behaved disorderly. So they took the man to the hospital, and then they went back to the scene. They went back to the scene sometime after and find this .32 pistol. Look, you got to tell that to some, even a school child is not going to believe a story like that. Even the dunces person, including some of them who are as dunce as goat, not going to believe that. You have to come up, this corporate propaganda unit that you have to come up with something that people will understand. people cannot accept. This reminds me of when they had the shooting of the guy who they claim was part of the man who escaped from the Mazaruni prison, Williams. It's still my story. This man was handcuffed. They show a picture of with the man handcuffed, and then this man was sitting on an ATV, and somehow he tried to grab a assault rifle from a man, one of the ranks, and he ended up getting killed. And they come with this same stupid story over and over again. Mr. Conway, maybe you can make sense of this release.
I can't make any sense, Paul. And the whole investigation appears to be going haywire. And one thing, they're saying Otalu, Mr. Sam was shot in the chest. And hear anything whether it is an exit wound, entry, exit. And if they didn't have an exit wound, they mean to say they did a bullet supposed to be in his body. I don't know if they had a post-mortem. And if you find a bullet, it's part of ballistic work to be done. I don't know. And then they're doing surveillance. Paul. I don't know the surveillance people would really engage the suspect. I don't know about that. And if the man is wounded, they're so careful, they're so concerned about him. They took him to the police, to the hospital, leave the scene unprotected. And then they returned subsequently and found a gun there. It reminds me years ago when we had the trials, when we had in Buxton, when the police alleged that someone pull a gun on them and throw it in a trench and they couldn't find it. And a man who knows who it is very, very top ranking in the police force, left Georgetown, go to Buxton, plunge in the trench and come up with a weapon, you know. All this kind of thing. You share Nancy's story. And we always saying that you have to protect a scene. You don't let no scene open. Things could be tampered with. And then that shooting wasn't justified. That shooting wasn't justified. Let me read when you may fire. This is the police force order 33 of 69. I think it's standing order number 18. When you may fire. And here's it. When you are attacked and you are praying serious danger to your person and unable to defend yourself by any other means. When property you are ordered to defend is attacked and you are unable to safeguard it by any other means. When an attack is made to rescue persons held in lawful custody. When anyone is found committing or about to commit a felony, burglary, shop breaking, store breaking, house breaking, arson, or larceny, and do not desist after warning and cannot be deterred or arrested by any means to prevent a police station or police outpost from being run when so ordered by a superior rank. Although I don't like the last one, because if the order is unlawful, you're not bound to carry it out. So the shooting from the face value appear to be unlawful. And then you're doing surveillance and you engaging people, you're doing like firing. Something is wrong with the police method of operation and the method of investigation. They're not doing a proper investigation in relation to Mr. Sam's death.
Right, and I noted here one of our students saying that the two men who were originally arrested for Sam's death have since been placed on station bail. The two men, there, Francis, thank you very much for that, Francis, saying that the two men who have been placed on station bail. So like that ain't going no place. That investigation is not going any place. And you know, coming out to the same thing, I think it was Sunday or sometime, somebody communicated with me that the family and friends wanted to hold a candlelight vigil in the spot where this incident took place. And the police were telling them that they need to get police permission to hold a candlelight vigil. So the person asked me if that is so. And I had to say, well, no, there's no such legal requirement for a person to get police permission to hold a candlelight vigil. And I told him, and I'm going to, again, for the younger policemen who are here, the law is clear. The law is clear. And let me tell you, the Public Order Act speaks to meetings and processions. Not of meetings and processions. And it says, and let me read quick a little part, and it's section 3 of the Public Order Act, chapter 1603, says that anyone who desires to hold a meeting in a public place shall not less than 48 hours and not more than 1 month previous to the time at which he desires to hold such a meeting, notify the appropriate officer of police of his intention to hold the said meeting and the time and place at which the meeting is to be held. So you notify, and there is the law, you notify the appropriate officer of police. And according to this law, the appropriate officer of police is a person in charge of the station nearest to which the meeting is to be kept. So in this case, in this case, he had no need because it's a candlelight vigil. A candlelight vigil cannot be classified as a meeting. So you notify the appropriate, if you want a meeting. So like these political meetings or any other meetings, you don't have to get permission from the police. You notify them. And of course, the law builds in certain things in case you get two meetings within close proximity. The police can then say, well, regulate the later application, and they have those conditions. But remember, no requirement for permission. What permission is needed for is if you want to have a procession under Section 5 of the said Act. And it says, let me read quickly what Section 5 says. It says that no person shall take part in a procession other than a funeral procession. Let me read that. No person shall take part in a procession other than a funeral procession unless the permission in writing of the chief officer of police has been first obtained, right? And then it says you need to apply in writing not less than 24 or not less than 40 hours and all that. And you remember earlier we talked about the appropriate officer of police being notified for a meeting. This section speaks about about a chief officer of police. And by definition, the chief officer of police is a police officer in charge of the police division in which this meeting, in which this procession is to be held. So meetings, appropriate officer of police, the person in charge of the station nearest to which the meeting is to be held, is notified. For a procession, and a procession is a march in a public place, other than a funeral procession, the divisional commander, what they call the chief officer of police. And understand this thing, chief officer of police. Don't believe it's a commissioner. The chief officer of police, by definition in law, is the police divisional commander. And you have to apply in writing. It's not no word of mouth thing. So understand it. And the next issue that comes up from time to time, and I thought it was important to mention it, we're talking about picketing. Again, you don't have to get permission to picket. But picketing is not covered under the Public Order Act. That comes under the Summary Jurisdiction Act, Section 27 of the Summary Jurisdiction Act. So understand, tells you not more than 3 and not abreast and how to operate. Section 27 of the Summary Jurisdiction Act, Chapter 8:02. So for those officers, I know a lot of people listening and a lot of people appreciate the information that is passed. So please, you got to instruct the ranks. Police got to know what is going on. Because it looks stupid. You're telling people who want to hold a candlelight vigil, you got to get permission from the police. Why? No, that is not the law. Same thing with meeting. No permission. You don't have to get. You notify. Read the law. Read the law. As I said, it's in the Public Order Act, 1603, Section 3, Section 5. And Section 4 also speaks to Section 4 of the same Act. You should really read that too, because Section 4, Section 4 of the Act speaks to, very important, Section 4 of the same Act speaks to who can regulate a public meeting. Section 4 needs to tell you who can regulate. For example, if the meeting is in Georgetown, that's what the law says, you know what I mean? If the meeting is in Georgetown, a person not below the rank of assistant superintendent. Commanders, take note. They say that if that's a Public Order Act, read it for yourself. I always tell you not to take my word for granted. Go and read. It's the Public Order Act. Section 4 speaks to who can regulate the public meetings. And it says if the meeting is held in Georgetown, then a rank not lower than an assistant superintendent. If it is held in New Amsterdam, the act is specific. If it is held in New Amsterdam, then they said a rank not below that of a sub-inspector. That is what the law said, sub-inspector. And I think over the years, we have come to understand that when they talk about sub-inspector, they're talking about the chief inspector, really, right? And then they go on to say in all other places, all other parts, not below the rank of sergeant, all other parts not below the rank of sergeant, or the person for the time being in charge of the police station. So that is part of your education for this morning. So if you come, don't tell them that they get permission for candlelight vigil and all of those things. Mr. Conway, what's your input in that? Mr. Conway?
You're so correct, Paul. And yeah, you so correct, Paul. I have a copy. For the matter, last week I went to the Attorney General's office and I bought my copy, and it's very cheap. It's very cheap. I have my copy here that I bought last week. And if all these volumes we talk about, go to the Attorney General's office, go to the Parliament building, and those volumes are on sale. And the staff, they're very, very courteous. Courtesy is a hallmark of those persons there. And some of these volumes will cost less than 2 guineas. So I want to implore on the commanders on this, buy the volume, and even the constables, because I bought some as constables and I still have them, buy the volumes, read them so that you can be au fait with the law and that you can take appropriate action. But you're quite correct that you don't have to get permission to hold the meetings.
Well, yeah, look, somebody say, I read what the Starbrook News article yesterday said, that somebody is saying that it was indicated that the police opened multiple gunshots. Well, you mean they fired multiple gunshots. How is it that the newspaper only carrying the police statement and not interviewing the other side? I don't understand the media guy. That is what this person is now saying. So while the article in yesterday's Starbrook News said one shot, they fired one shot and shot this man in his right thigh, somebody is saying that it's not gunshots fired. That is what somebody is saying, and I wasn't there, I don't know, but they're asking why the newspaper did not interview people in the area to hear what is the story. And as Jarvis is saying, hey, look, he's saying, hey, if it is true that they were family members, he's saying, and that makes sense. If it is true that we were family members, they would have picked up the firearm. Family members, 25 aggressive, hostile family members gathered, and you took the man to the hospital, and you come back, and you're able to pick up this gun. Something sounds really, really wrong. Something sounds really wrong. Nobody can believe this type of story. Nobody can believe, right? So y'all got to come better than that. And that is the issue with credibility. Because you have a unit, what they call a corporate communication unit, I just call it the propaganda unit, that comes out with these statements, and no sensible person is making sense. And therefore, you lack credibility. So I suspect that sometime they might come out with something that is more credible. People still not going to believe you. People are not going to believe you because they say whatever you say lacks credibility. So it's important. Credibility is very, very important. Now moving on, Mr. Conway, I invite you to comment on this purported extension that the president said he gave to the man who sit in the chair. Open the button, and you open the button.
All right, thanks for giving me the opportunity to open the button. I used to open my house. We keep on opening buttons in my school days. Now, let me put things in proper context. The appointment of a commissioner or deputy commissioner is with the president after he had meaningful consultation with the leader of the opposition and the chairman of the Police Service Commission, who would have by then consulted with other members of the Service Commission. So president, whoever he or she may be, consultation with leader of the opposition, meaningful consultation, and chairman of the Police Service Commission, who had consultation with other members, and he within the right to go and appoint that person. It doesn't call for agreement, as is with the case with the Chief Justice and the Chancellor, where you must have agreement. I know they're going to get the wrong no one because I think it's 16 years now they can't get a conform Chief Justice and a Chancellor. Now, with Hicken case, Hicken appointment was very controversial. They matter Richie Court and they shelter under the doctrine of necessity. Shelter under the doctrine of necessity. That which was wrong is now made right. Now, Paul Williams was the most senior man after James demitted office. Paul Williams, the only confirmed deputy commissioner of police. And they sent him for enforced to COVID-19 and now to the Civil Defense Commission. So Hicken was appointed to act as commissioner. Very, very, very controversial. Now I understand that this acting appointment has been extended. I've been looking extensively at the Constitution of Guyana. I have my own copy. I have hard copy. I have electronic copy. I'm no attorney at law, but I had a bit of legal training. I lectured to prosecutors. I learned a lot through the process of osmosis in terms of legal issues. And I checked the Constitution of Guyana, and I have not seen the word extension. I have not seen the authority or the article that gives the president the authority to extend the service of a commissioner or deputy commissioner. I have not seen that. Perhaps it's hidden some way. I don't know, but I have not seen it, and I went over it thoroughly. And common sense will tell you also, although common sense isn't commonplace and common in everybody, including senior counsel and senior leaders of the society, that you cannot extend somebody when his period of appointment has already expired. You can't extend something that has expired. So I don't see how, in heaven's name, the president could have extended Hicken as an acting commissioner of police. I understand the president said he signed some letter. In the interest of accountability and transparency, they should make that letter available to the public. And let us see the right things where the president could say, in relation to the powers vested in me under articles, and quote the article, I hereby appoint Hicken to act as commissioner of police. I would like to see that letter. And I'd like to see the wordings where the president would quote his authority to extend the commissioner. I have not seen that. I look at the public service rules, public service commission rules, and I haven't seen anything about extension of service of public servants. I don't know where it lies, but I'd be grateful if somebody could indicate to me the rule in the Public Service Commission rules and the article in the Constitution of Guyana that gives the president the power, that gives the president the authority to extend. We know we had extension before. Before I concerned those were illegal, remember, I think it was Desmond Height extending Baron Ragaber's commissioner later on, send you away to India as High Commission. I can recall President Jagan extending Larry Lewis twice. And then when he reached 80, he had a court case and he bowed out. I can remember McDonald being extended and he became the deadliest commissioner ever. 26 of his ranks died in actual course of duty. I remember Henry Green was extended and he had to fight the court not to get a rape charge. And also the US has taken away his visa. I remember Bromell had a short period and then somebody took a file to Ramatar and said that Bromell may have without due cause give a man a firearm license, where a certain senior officer took a file there and Bromell extension came to an end. So I feel if all those extensions were illegal, unconstitutional, and I must mention that the president is a creature of the Constitution. He has to abide with the Constitution. He cannot do things that are breaches of the Constitution, and the president could be removed from office if he breached the Constitution. He could be removed from office. It's clear in the Constitution. And it's clear in an article, I think Article 180, which says that the president could be removed from office, but a big long process. So the president can't do as he like. The president has executive powers, but those executive powers has to be put in place in relation to the Constitution of Guyana. You can't do that. This is not North Korea. The president has got to abide by the Constitution. And if he violates the Constitution, he could be removed from office. There's a legal process. So is unconstitutional.
Yeah, well, let me add my 2 cents to it. My 2 cents is that, one, as you rightly said, we all know it is no secret that on the 22nd of July this year, the man who sits in the chair of the Commissioner of Police reached the mandatory retirement age of 55. I said last week that the protocol in the public service, of which policemen are, we are all part, policemen, we policemen are all part of the public service, that you work or you remain in the service until the last day of the month in which you were born. So in other words, you're born on the 22nd of July, you still have the public service still covers you until the 31st day of July. But on the morning of the 1st of August, all such authority, privilege, immunity is gone. You're no longer a member of the public service. You're no longer a member of the police force. Now, you made a point about persons being extended. You mentioned Mr. Ragabir, Mr. Lewis, Mr. Green, McDonald, and Bromell. The point, a big difference, and I want to make that for those people who are listening, is that, as you pointed out, you can't extend that which is ended. In those cases, those persons were extended before they reached 55. I know now that I said this, they're going to run to backdate and they're going to backdate, but the records can be examined to show once you reach 55, there can be no provision for you to be extended, none whatsoever. The Constitution, Article 211.3, and I'm going to read it quickly because it's short. It's just subject to the provisions of the next following paragraph. The Commissioner of Police shall vacate office when he or she attains such age as may be prescribed by Parliament, not the President. And given all the precedents that we have spoken about, Parliament said 55, you have to go. So if you walk back from the last, you had James 55, before James, Silal Pasar 55 gone, Felix 55 gone, and it went on like that. Like Barker gone, Henry Fraser gone. 55, you have to go. That is what it is. Now, the president said, and this is the worrying part, and I hope again that people will challenge these things. The president, and that is a less tough set, because I listened to the tape, and he said, among other things, I've already issued a letter extending the services of the Commissioner of Police to a date to be determined. Let me read that back. The president said, I've already issued a letter extending the services of the Commissioner of Police to a date to be determined. So this is something that is open-ended. You can stay there till who can determine this date? Not Parliament, the president. And I made a note to let the people know the president is not a king or a sultan. And you are correct. He's a creature of the Constitution, and therefore he is compelled to follow the Constitution. However, having said that, we have seen numerous cases, including a case that I brought against the president, where the judge ruled that he violated the Constitution. So this is not the first time. And if you go on my page, sometime last week or before the last, I said that my crystal ball, I looked into my crystal ball and I see constitutional violation coming up. I know, I read in this thing, people who call me would say, man, oh, you owe your man and you're seeing this thing. I say, yeah, I see how this game going to play out. I have seen how this thing will play out. I have seen. So it didn't surprise me. It did not surprise me. So when the Volkswagenists, and I'm going to deal with that just now, come and talk a lot of crap there and so on, I'm going to deal with the Volkswagenists because he mentioned me by name. Normally, he just ignore it, or she, or it, or them, whatever it is, whatever fits them, right? I'm going to address that shortly. But I'm saying that the president, as the pointed out, CC, if you are going to extend someone in office, because remember, another crucial point, and I hope again that the lawyers are listening, is that the substantive rank of the man who sits in the chair is assistant commissioner. So you're extending me as assistant commissioner? Where is the authority to so do? And as you rightly pointed out, if you're going to issue a letter to extend someone, in that letter you will have to say where your authority comes from. In other words, you will start to say, by virtue of the authority vested in me under section so, the law, or under article, that is how you got to say it. You have got to point out your authority, not just say, well, I'm staying. And again, the question is asked, why is it that they will take such action against, or in favor of this man? Well, you got to protect them, So when you get the next Dharamlal, or you get them things there, these people come and they can bat for you. That is the only reason why some of them are in those positions, so that when you have incidents, and talking about incidents, those of you who are on social media, I see another minister getting skin up on social media with some beauty queen, right? I see, let me see where the one goes well. I see another one get skin up on the thing. So you have to get people like the man who sit in the chair to run cover for you when these things happen, right? So, and that is what I want to say about that. And again, I am hoping that the legal minds who are in Guyana will take up this matter. And again, this is not a personality thing. Let me understand this thing clearly. This is not a personality thing. This is the Constitution. And the president has shown that an inclination to violate the Constitution. And every time it is violated, we should make sure that the courts intervene. They really don't care. They really don't care. And somebody comment to say you're heading towards a dictatorship. Perhaps you're already there. Because if it is that the president can just violate the Constitution and do your own thing. And again, understand this, understand this. The president said, and again, it's not what they say that he said. I heard it with my own ears and I made a note. I have already issued a letter extending the services of the Commissioner of Police to a date to be determined. To a date to be determined. So you can determine that the man immediately till he's old like Methuselah, 18, 19. That is what is written there. And some people say them police are still, they just comment. The man said, well, like he said, they comment that maybe you want a military funeral. Right? And let me say this too. See, I'm going to ask you to comment on this part. The culture of the Guyana Police Force. I've been associated with the Guyana Police Force since 1973. So I know something about the culture of the Guyana Police Force. The culture of the Guyana Police Force is not kind to persons who, especially those senior persons who stand in such circumstances. If you're a specialist, yeah. If you're a specialist, they can accept you. But you see, in the post of deputy commissioner and commissioner in particular, when your time come to go and they see you hanging around, no more respect. I remember, as you said, Larry Lewis. I remember Larry Lewis. Once Larry Lewis reached 55, the respect that he was shown up to that time had almost vanished. People treated him scantily. No respect. Because they say you're squatting. You are squatting. Henry Green was even worse. McDonald, according to the people from the country, McDonald was worser. No respect at all for him. Police dying and he's sitting there twiddling his thumbs. He couldn't make any proper intervention and so on. So the thing is not, and to say further, Ragobir did not end well. We knew how Henry Green ended. McDonald with all the deaths and so on. So it is not kind. It is not kind. So let me see where this one will go. Let's see where this one will go. See?
As you rightly said, it will not go well because there are high expectations. The admin man has his expectation. The ops man, the CID man, the Suku man, the man from the branch also. They all have expectations and talking about the branch, I don't have a crystal ball, but 3 little birds whispered something to me recently that as part of the Indianization of the Guyana police force, the intelligence man will be removed shortly, and an Indian, a triple jumper, will take the position there. I don't mind you Indianizing, but you must Indianize with competent persons. So look out that those persons who are the expectations very, very high, I won't be surprised if they start undermining the squatter, taking action against the squatter. And then here this guy in the police force statement in relation to Hicken. Here we say the Guyana Police Force noted that since Mr. Hicken was appointed 16 months ago, there has been increased accommodation at branches, new police stations, and the spruce up of the general police environments, all of which are being supported by the government of Guyana. Imagine that. That is not no work of Hicken. There's the government work to build job accommodation, to build police stations and this kind of thing. And there's a justification for him to be unlawfully extended. Yeah? And he's not looking at his mandate. I read it earlier in some section 3.2 of the Police Act, what the police required to do. What is their mission statement? Are they fulfilling their mission? No. Are they fulfilling their mandate? No. All they're doing, like the president bridesmaid, jumping all about with the president locally and overseas, storing pot for the president, and say that they eating healthy, and when they're steaming fried fish and them kind of thing, though, moving about all the place with the president, when you have divisional commanders to deal with him, yeah. A year passed, and then the man in the seat has not held an notified inspection. The standing order say once a year must hold notified inspection while the place there. Perhaps that person is an environmentalist and looking at the environment, but not looking at the criminal environment. That's a major role. The criminal environment must look at not the physical thing, looking at buildings and looking at accommodation, looking at new police station, and then spicing up the place. No. And as you said, Paul, there will be reactions, whether overtly or covertly, in relation to the unlawful appointment. And I hope that the liars will take it in hand. Just like how Tad has gone to the DPP in relation to that 20 murder charge that they given that girl in relation to the budget thing. I hope that some liars are bold enough and start questioning and start challenge. Yes, the president did suspend us, but we went to the court and the court ruled that the present action was unconstitutional. So let's see what will happen.
Yeah, let's see what will happen. I want to make this point too. I want to make this point. The police release and the thing making all sort of statement and so on. And at a time, if you look at what the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry, runaway crime. In terms of accidents, we can deal runaway fatal accidents. Since last week to now, is about 7 persons died on the road. We're gonna deal with that. We're gonna deal with that. But before, and then the next thing, they talk about infrastructure. I want to remind them not so long ago that TSU police sleeping on newspaper circulating. They went on some duty to sleep in a newspaper. So they come with this propaganda and they come with all the crap and believe people are going to buy it. But the evidence is there to the contrary. Starbrook News, Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry, a lot of the others are going to whisper. They don't have the balls. They don't have the testicular fortitude to come out openly and say these things have gone out of control. And no leadership. And this is not only leadership from the man who sits in the chair. The Minister of Home Affairs is silent. They got man who they call National Security Advisor silent in the face of all this crime and all the lawlessness that is going on. The minister say, oh, you must stop peeing in public and you must stop cursing and all this stuff. Yeah, but I'm going to advise him. I'm going to submit some names for him to get a pee patrol. I know some people who are going to work, who are going to volunteer, including the Volkswagenists, to go around to catch men peeing. The only problem with that is that when they catch men peeing, they might compromise themselves. They might walk out a deal on the road. They might walk out a deal. And I'm going to talk about that now. Because, as I said, the Volkswagenists and the thing they call me name. He mentioned Slow and he mentioned Conway. So you're going to get an opportunity to respond after. And he talk a lot of crap. But let me say this. Let me preface everything that I have to say by saying this. It reminds me that when I was going to school, a lot of your school colleagues, especially the female ones, will start a story. They start a story, they call your name or they tell you something, and then when you respond, they run and they complain to sir or they run and complain to miss. And I suspect it's something that not only confined to the female, in my days, preteen and teenagers, but I guess some other categories do the same thing. And I want to also preface this thing by saying that my mother, God rest the dead, always warned me about how I deal with Lil Boy, Dog, and the other category. She warned me. But for today, I can ignore the warning for a while because I need to address some issues. I need to address some issues. Now, they say under a caption, short boss remain boss as president extend the top cop tenure. That is on the 7th of August. Let me quote a part of the thing, part of the same thing. I can read the whole thing. I talk about the King extension. Somehow he feels, I say he again, I can guess who. She, he, it, them, they, whatever it is. Whatever they choose to describe themselves at. He said, when Norton's party, the PNC, had the last government under the David Gradle presidency, Akin's upward mobility in the Ghana police force was stifled, even as several persons who were junior to him were promoted ahead of him. I'm going to address that because I know about that. And let me address it right away. The people, first of all, we need to address how Akin became senior to those persons. And I can tell you how. Akin became senior because the people in Rob Street and the man who been in Brickdam chose to disregard what the police service commission had recommended and insert his name and deleted the name of another far more qualified senior officer. That man took them to court and won. Understand this? This thing, understand. So that is how he became senior. He jumped the people them, and because the people in Rob Street and the man in Brickdam put the name, scratch out this man name, put the name, man took them to court, the man won the case. When the others were promoted, when the people were promoted, I was the chairman of the Police Service Commission, Kanye was a member, interviews were conducted, resumes were requested and submitted. And that man who you're batting for was the most unqualified of the group. He was the most unqualified, not in terms of academic qualification, Not in terms of that. He had issues relating to his conduct in Linden. He had issues relating to his conduct at the Commission of Inquiry into the Linden issue. So go and do your research. Then he goes on, or he, she, it, then goes on to say, he said one of the comic strip gimmicks, or on a comic strip gimmick, two former police ranks would often use their time to vilify the top cop, his executive leader team, and ranks and file of the force. Well, I challenge you to say whenever these persons are vilified, we talk facts, and if facts are them, that is their business. If the facts are them, that is their business. Again, they say, let it come to say whatever we're saying is untrue. And then hear what the thing said. It should be noted that the force administration at the time they served did not see it fit to recommend either of the two ranks for promotion to the post of deputy commissioner or deputy commissioner of police or commissioner of police to be it substantive or acting. Let me address that. CC, you're going to get a chance to address it from your perspective. Let me address that. Let me invite one and all, including that thing, to read. It's a Kaichor News letter dated June 11, 2010. Kaichor News letter dated June 11, 2010. It is authored by Malcolm Ari Paul. I'm going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read just a part. It says, Dear editor, I have read the outpourings of Paul Slow since his retirement parade and the accolades bestowed on him by members of the public. I now write to record another facet of this story, which clearly typifies the hypocrisy of the Jagans and the consequences of their poor decision as personified in Ronald Gadraj. My respect for Slow is so much that prior to the 1992 elections, in a national security plan that I had prepared at Dr. Jagan's request, I had recommended him to be the new Commissioner of Police. I stated then that I did not know of Slow's political affiliation, but that he was a truly professional officer who would uphold the Constitution and laws, regardless of which party was in power, and that with the aid of the United Nations, he would reform and restructure the police force. Another part of the letter he says, hear what he says. Paul Slow, by then, was an assistant superintendent. He was well respected for his professionalism, integrity, honesty, and personal accomplishment in the police force. Gadraj issues an unlawful order to Slow, who declined to obey and instead abided by the laws of the land. Paul Slow was then victimized by non-promotion. And then here we go on, the last part of the said, the Paul Slow Ronald Gadraj case should be a case study for all students of Guyana's politics. That is Malcolm Ari Paul, and again, the date is June 11, 2010 in the Kaichor News. There is only one. Let me tell him about why Slow. So Slow was never involved, never accused, never involved in any corruption, unprofessional conduct, incompetence. That wasn't, nobody can accuse Slow of that. And again, I say, I have been out to the force over 13 years. I have been on this program almost 2, and they can't come and say that. They cannot come and say that, right? And let me go on to tell you, want to know why Slow wasn't promoted? Slow wasn't promoted because he stood up to Jagdeo. Go and ask Bharat Jagdeo why Slow wasn't promoted. He wanted me to, Gadraj wanted me to do something which I considered to be unlawful, unethical. And I stood up and I said, no. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. Jagdeo summoned me, as president, summoned me to his office at office to the president and tried to persuade me that I should apologize to Ronald Gadraj. And I told him face to face that I was not going to apologize because I had not done anything wrong. I told him further that if Gadraj should reduce into writing what he's alleging that I did wrong, I may be inclined to apologize. And he tell me all sort of thing. Yeah, that was a Wednesday. I got the dates. I got everything there. And then he said the conversation ended. I left and I went back to Borbis where I was in command. And the Monday following, The Monday following, I was in the office conducting a meeting with my officers. When the phone on my desk rang, I picked up the phone and it was Jagdio himself. Said he wanted to speak to Commander Slew. I said, speaking. And then he said that he had expected the apology by then. And I continued to insist that I was not going to apologize. And then he told me that if I did not apologize to Gajraj by that afternoon, by that Monday afternoon, he was going to side with Gajraj and I was going to suffer the consequences. I said, well, bring it on. I have no fear. Bring it on. And I never apologized to Gajraj because I had not done anything wrong. So the fact that I spent 11 years plus as an assistant commissioner, Mr. Ting, Mrs. Ting, or Ting, whatever it is, had nothing to do with lack of qualification. It had to do with the vindictive nature of the then president. It had to do with the vindictive nature. Let me tell you further. As I said, the gloves are off. Go to the National Security Advisor. Go to the National Security Advisor. Let me give you let me tell you, hold on. Go to the National Security Advisor and ask him about a meeting. And on Tuesday, the 25th of April 2006, ask the National Security Advisor about a meeting on Tuesday, the 26th of April 2006 in Campbellville. In Campbellville, when they were trying to persuade me, he and another man. The man wasn't there to start. He called the man came. On the subject of the meeting, because at that time, I had indicated that I was leaving the force to migrate to join my family. And asked him about the content. I'm not going to tell you anything further about that. And let me tell you further thing, and for the benefit of all, when Gajraj was minister, 2 British consultants went to Ghana as part of the process to identify the commissioner to take over from Larry Lewis. I was shortlisted among the persons to be interviewed. At the time when the interviews were being conducted, I was in the United States of America on vacation. Another senior police colleague was also in the States. He called me one Saturday afternoon, and all these people around to verify what I'm saying, to tell me that the minister Gajraj was trying to get my telephone number. He wanted permission from me to give Gajraj my number. I said, go ahead, give him the number. He gave Gajraj the number. Shortly after, Gajraj called me at my home in New York to tell me that these interviews were going on, and they wanted me to go home to be interviewed by these people as a candidate for the commissioner of police work. And I tell him, he says, sorry, sir, I get appointments and so on. I'm not breaking my vocation to come for anything so wishy-washy. And do you know that an arrangement was made for the 2 persons to travel to New York to interview me and the other senior officers at the I Commission in Manhattan? I attended there. I attended the meeting, and they told me what was the feeling of the administration then. They told me what was the feeling of the administration in terms of my qualification, in terms of my professionalism, and all of that. So this joker come and asking us that question. You can't impute my character. You cannot. Even go back to the Scottish when they were here, when they were to interview and to conduct reform and so on. I was a point person. They identified me as qualified as the person who should take over the force. The Scottish people who were in Ghana doing the reform, go and check the records when the IDB were doing the security sector reform. Find out who they identified as the most qualified person to take over and run the thing. And I was a point person in the reform until Green became commissioner and Roy became Minister of Home Affairs. I call him the name because the records are there. And Green wrote to Roy to tell him that he wants to be, as a commissioner, he wants to be the person. That, notwithstanding the fact that the American and the British had sent a clear signal that they did not want Green to be commissioner because according to them, he had been in the pockets of the drug people. So Volkswagen is, I got more to talk. So Volkswagen is real and come again. And let me say this. I don't know, people say, why this thing picking on you? People commented when he wrote, why this thing picking on you? Picking on me because I called him out for his dishonesty once. In 2018, I called him out for his dishonesty. Well, I said him again, I said the wrong thing. I call it out for the dishonesty, right? I call it out for the dishonesty. And he has been picking fire rage since then. But I able and I ready. I'm not going to back down from something like that. I am not going to back down from something like that. And I am not the man. He said, next thing, last week on this program, we spoke about the accident involving the commander on the East Bank with the police vehicle. And shortly thereafter, the night or sometime after, News 9 break carried a story, and they put the wrong picture of they intended to put the commander's picture, but they put the picture of a man who had already retired, Prasad. They put that. And the man write a long thing, saying the thing write a long thing, criticizing, blaming Slow for the fact that News 9 break put the wrong picture. And the thing said that Slow get dossier on all the officers and he could tell you all the right picture. I get dossier on the officers, I know the thing. The dossier that I really want to see and get is the one that Mudwater get. Because Mudwater is the man who get a dossier saying that somebody does Duck and Dharamlal, Duck and B. That is the one that I want to see. Who are the names and so on. And tickle me, I got pictures, I got pictures. Tickle me, let me wind more. I got pictures that I'm gonna show, right? Tickle me, I got pictures to show. And let me say this, as I said, Dr. Mudwater, and as I started by saying, that has come, like in the days, I remember them, your school colleagues, the females in particular, they start a story, and then when you respond, they will run to teacher, they will run to miss, they will run to sir. These days, you start a story, you go run to your colleagues in the force. But I'm waiting. So come again. So when you're trying to imply that Slow did not promote it wasn't promoted to deputy commissioner or commissioner, and you're asking about what? About even competence and incompetence. What is that? It was due to incompetence, corruption, of lack of qualification. At the time I was qualified, I had a degree in public management, passed with credit. I had qualification from the Police Staff College, Bramshill in the UK. I had qualification from the FBI Academy, and many more from the National Defense University of the US and all over. So when you talk about qualification, what qualification? The thing that you're back in, who sits in the chair get? What qualification? Apart from the board certificate and all them enough 2-hour course and 1-hour course that he attended. So don't come to me with qualification. I remain, at the time, I was one of the more qualified persons in the police force. But Jack Dio decided to spite me. Well, he didn't really spite me, because I retired with all my glory and all my honor in 2010. And as you know, God in your favor, I picked up my dream job thereafter and worked with that job for 11 years, right? 11 years. So let me understand. So somebody said blackout punches. Yeah, this is punches like Terrence, what the man named for the other day there. Blows. Come to you with a tube. Lack of qualification. Never, when talk about incompetence, that was never associated with me. Never associated with me. Let me understand. Never associated. I was credited with writing a national security plan along with some junior officers with me for the Cricket World Cup 2007. National security plan for the Cricket T20 World Cup 2010. And I spearheaded those operations on behalf of Guyana. The Women's T20 World Cup, the under 19 T20, the under 19 World Cup in the West Indies, I spearheaded those operations. The man who you're backing was asked to do one, and I get a copy of the crap that he wrote. When he wrote and he sent it in to the secretariat, they had to get on to me to find somebody to do it over. And I had to find another officer to do it over because the work that he did was unacceptable. And they were saying that it has to be corrected. I said, correct? You can never, ever correct that. It's better we pay somebody to get it done over. And they agreed, and they paid someone to get it done over. So don't come to me about incompetence. Don't talk to me about corruption. I have never been associated with those things. The policemen who work under me, many of them are on the live, like Pompey and Ulrich, and those guys will tell you that policemen feared me when it comes to that because they know if they were caught, if I got any whiff that they were corrupt, they were going to be charged, put before the court. I have been responsible for setting trap and catching several corrupt police officers. All you could remember that West Demerara, Georgetown, and elsewhere. So, thing, wheel and come again. Wheel and come again. Don't talk to me about corruption. And let me tell you this too. One of the reasons I wasn't promoted, the same man that I referred to earlier was Axie. When they broached the subject with the president then, the president told them, they tell me that the president said, by Slow too independent. We can't make Slow commissioner. Slow get a mind of his own, and he too independent. That is what they came back and they told me. That is what they came back and told me. When Felix retired, you must check what Ricky Singh right. If you can. You're supposed to be, you call yourself a journalist. Go do your research. Go do your research. And you will be able to find out. The respect that I commanded in all of my divisional commands. D Division, Borbies, Georgetown, elsewhere. Do you know that I was so respected thing that in 1994, I was sent to head the presidential guard when Dr. Jagan was the president. Because they felt I was the only competent person to turn the guard around. Only person. So I was sent there. When they had trouble in traffic, it's Paul Slow that sent to resolve the issues in traffic. I went there on 2 occasions. When they had problems in Georgetown, it's Slow that sent us twice to Green, and then Slow took over to sort the system out, to put systems in place to deal with it. So don't come, go again, check, go and come again, go and come again. But then the things there, right? Foolishness now. The decision of President Ali to extend the services of Clifton Ikin is expected to cause a lot of headache for a small group of persons headed by the comic strip gimmick, host and co-host. It should, and then hear this jackass posing as a journalist. It should be noted that the Commissioner of Police serves at the pleasure of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. You have here, I can't, a conversation like this should really be had over a few drinks in a rum shop where you can use the vernacular. Because you have had a lot of words started with F, ended with ing, and you could guess what would have gone in between. I come with this nonsense. Why people he attacking you? He must like you. I am there, sir. I don't go in for them nastiness. Look for people of your own ilk. Don't run by me because I am ready to deal with you. I am ready to deal with you. Don't come by me. As you said, I'm a geriatric. I'm a big old man. A big, decent old man, the people say. I'm a big, decent old man. Don't come at me with your nasty, stinking habits. Let me understand this thing clearly. Now, Conway have to defend himself. So let me call Conway. Can you mention Conway's name too? Mr. Conway, defend yourself, man.
Paul, you didn't bat, You bowl quite a number of vicious deliveries. Perhaps the West Indies team can do well with you as a bowler. But I'm going to be a bit brief. Because you said it all. And it is true that I retired as an assistant commissioner after being there for 8 years as an assistant commissioner. It's also true that you retired as an assistant commissioner, and all because you stood up to Jack Dio. And the spin-off effect is that me and others, people like Ivla Whitaker and others, did not get promotion because Jack Dio didn't want to make you a deputy commissioner, and you were the most qualified and the most suitable person to hold that position. And there were vacancy for 4 deputy commissioners. You didn't get, so none of us get. But the thing is that life goes on after retirement. Life goes on after policing. After policing, I got a dream job. Some overseas persons came home at me and offered me a dream job. I'm still on the job and asked me how much I want. How much I want. Came home on me and looked for me. They said based on the research that they did, they wanted me for the job. And I'm still there. So life goes on. And let me just close off. I'm gonna be very brief with this thing. It is known that this thing crawl out from the closet, not in an acting capacity, but in a conformed capacity. And the thing crawl out with its slip showing. And the thing has since continued to perpetually display that it is extremely weak down the leg side. Let me repeat. The thing crawl out from the closet, not in an acting capacity, but in a conformed capacity with a slip showing and has maintained and has the propensity and is perpetually weak down the leg side. I close my case.
You close your case. Exactly, you close the case. You see what really happened there? They had about 2 runs to win, and I make only about 1 run to win when you come into bat. So I could understand. But let me say this further. I forgot to mention this. And again, let me go check the record. I'm talking water in my mouth. In 2004, I was recommended to be promoted to deputy commissioner. Recommended. I saw the document. Me along with Kijan, assistant commissioner, the late Kijan, attorney at law. I recommended to be promoted to deputy commissioner, not to act to be promoted to deputy commissioner. And Jagdio party spite Ian promoting slew. So as we say, wheel and come again, wheel and come, and I got more files. Remember, what a calling date, because again I can tell you, go to the national security advisor and ask him about the meeting that we at his residence and what was the subject of that meeting. It was April 2006. I called the date earlier, right? I called the date earlier, April the 25th, Tuesday, April the 25th, 2006. Why do I know all of this? Why can I call all of this date? Because I have the records. Right? So let me move on. I have a wait more time.
Don't move on yet, Paul. Don't move on yet.
Yeah,
Let me say something. We are friends and we're friends from long. I never said before, but when I was a divisional commander, I wanted to measure how well I was doing. And I was looking for a benchmark. I was looking for somebody. And Paul, I use your performance to see how well, to compare how well I was doing. And many times when I was trying to get in par with you, you raise the bar and you continue to raise the bar. And that is the kind of person you are up to today.
Well, I know you're saying I'm raising the bar because maybe that's why the thing running behind me, because you hear the bar raising. And because you hear the bar raising, but that's why you're running. So, what you're talking, please say that, raise the standards. I raise the standard. But when you say raise the bar, maybe that is what the thing heard. And that is why you want the bar. But this is a geriatric. I ain't there, sir. Paul say that attacking the thing. Now, let me say this. Again, before let me say, I was proud to be the commander and the senior commander, because all the other commanders, even though we held the same rank, they respected me and they showed me that type of respect. When we went to meetings at police headquarters, senior meetings, even Henry Green would defer to me and to ask about certain issues and so on and get my thinking about it. Henry Green. Right? And see, the amount of SOPs and the amount of things that I prepared and I left there, because every time there was an incident or anytime you anticipate something has to go wrong, I was the person who would sit there and draft stuff and write things and put orders in place. So this thing come in and talking a lot of crap. He raised my bar this morning, so I got to make sure that I address it. Now let me move on. And I'm moving now to the this runaway traffic situation. Now let me show a few quick slides and so on for you to understand what's going on. Look, every day we get every day is, let me see, look, every day is accidents and more accidents. Look, this is sometime during the week. This happens somewhere, Bordeaux. Every day. And the man sitting down there and the president said that he's doing a good job. Well, the president like them things them though. Let me show you a next two brief videos. Look at this one. Sometime this morning, look. Yellow line and double yellow line and that is the type of lawlessness that we have going on the road. Let me show you. This is the sad one 2 nights ago with the accident. Look. The accident in which 4 people died. People trying to break the rest of the yeah, that's what's going on. And let me show you, this one is a little long, about 6 minutes long, but I think I need to show you for you to get a full context of what is going on the roads in Ghana. Look at this one. my mic was on mute. Sorry about that. I'm saying that, look, when you see driving like that, which is not an isolated thing, people drive like that, either drunk, either on the drugs, either sick. But then there is no, people are not there to intercept these things. And that is why we end up with all these type of accidents. Last week, Wednesday, we had the one with the police commander. And shortly thereafter, they started a campaign. So they're pulling in trucks, checking for fitness, checking for flashing light, and all sort of thing and that. And from then to now, we had, let me tell you, a man from Cumberland dies in an accident in West Coast Bobbies. There is one. Then we had a prison officer killed on the highway. Swan is a place on the highway. A prison officer killed there by a hit and run driver. And then we had a Grove man crash his car, his brother car, I think it was, and died. Then we had some driver in a lorry topples on Lion Mountain Trail and died. Then we had, tragically, a couple of nights ago, 4 persons died. And when you look at how that accident occurred, it's the same pattern of dangerous driving. According to the police report, the vehicle in which these persons, the deceased persons were, attempted to do a U-turn at Craig Public Road. The truck proceeding north, slamming into the vehicle. 2 died on the spot, 2 died subsequently. But I was looking at the report and I saw that the driver of the truck is 21 years old. 21 years old, the driver of the truck. And that is why we have been saying, and if you should read Peeping Tom, Peeping Tom is a column in the Kaicho News. Peeping Tom today spoke about the same thing, because they're saying that this thing requires a comprehensive review, not the police going out there for a couple of days and enforce, and of course, they're going to go, they're going to target some people. You mentioned the target coming with a tint in the vehicle, where the Tundras and all of those fancy vehicles, guns catch free. That is not what is required. This thing has reached it's an epidemic proportions, and therefore you have to have, as we have been saying all along, a holistic approach to this whole thing. Not only the police, it's not only a police thing, because police can deal with enforcement, but it requires engineering, it requires education, and not the education the police provide. The Ministry of Education got to get involved, the Ministry of Public Works, the Ministry of Health, all of these places have to get involved. This is a national crisis, what is going on the roads. And you would note, they're not giving figures. They are not giving figures, right? So then when they do provide, they get category fatal accident and fatal incident. People are dying on the roads almost every day. And therefore, the people, all, the Minister of Home Affairs, the National Security Advisor, the man who sits in the chair, the man, Ejil, the people at health, they all have to come together. One would expect that the president himself will lead the war against what is going on the road. And I have said before, and we said one of the things that you need to address if you're going to deal with it, and Peeping Tom alluded to it, is the perception of corruption on the road. The perception, and it is more than a perception. People who drive on the road will tell you the experience with the police left a thingy, right? A man committed a violation, he passed a Granger, as they would say. For those who don't know, Granger is the green Guyana $5,000 note. So they left for something. That is what people will tell you, and you have to attack this thing from all fronts. You have to attack it from all fronts. Every day, these accidents, 4 people, 1 person, 2 persons. Imagine between last week, Wednesday, when the divisional commander of 4B and his driver escaped, to now is 7 persons died on the road, and you sitting down and the government telling you that the commissioner is such an excellent performer, and that thing that is weak down the leg side, blowing the trumpet and singing praises to the man who sit down. The murders galore, traffic deaths galore, whether you call them incidents or accident galore. And yeah, the man is doing a good job. Yeah, he's doing a good job. Yeah, sit back and wait for things to get better. Let me bring in Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter?
Yeah, Paul. I read people in Tom also, and it's what we've been talking about. You need to have a holistic approach towards this traffic madness on the road. What they did, they move a man who doesn't know his general powers of arrest and put him as the deputy traffic chief and tell the traffic officer, you go along and leave. Boy, you're coming back. The man who has poor technical, human, and conceptual skills in dealing with traffic situation will be the next traffic chief. How can you correct the situation and we're not looking at the elephant in the room, the corruption? Do they check and see those persons who have been involved in accidents, how they got their driver's license? You mentioned a 21-year-old truck driver. How he got his driver's license? Is it through the normal thing or he pay the Grangers? You know, the whole thing calls for a shake-up of traffic, not just bringing a man there who will know his general powers of arrest. And let me read it for because there may be many others who don't know the general powers of arrest. Section 16.1, it says it shall be lawful for any member of the force to arrest without warrant. A, any person who commits in his view an offense punishable either upon indictment or upon summary conviction. B, any person who any other person charges with having committed a felony or misdemeanor. Or C, any person who any other person, 1, suspects of having committed a felony or misdemeanor. Or 2, charges with having committed an offense punishable on summary conviction, if such person is willing to accompany a member of the force affecting the arrest to a police station and to enter recognizance to prosecute such charge. Or D, any person who such member of the force finds disturbing the public peace, or any person who had cause to suspect of having committed or being about to commit any felony, misdemeanor, breach of the peace. Or the last one, F, any person who he finds between the hours of 8 in the evening and 5 o'clock in the morning, lying or alert in any highway, yard, or any place, and not able to give a satisfactory account of himself. Here's where a attorney at law was arrested because she told your client of his constitutional right to remain silent. And that person, over the next couple of days, will be the traffic officer. More chaos on the road. For us, more persons will be arrested illegally for traffic violations. You know, the thing is that unless they approach this thing, unless they look at traffic holistically, unless they look at it frontally, unless they look at it fundamentally, unless they look at it professionally, the madness, the slaughter on our roads will continue.
I agree with you. I agree. And let me address, somebody is thinking here about animals on the road. Yeah, we are saying that everything must be addressed. We have said here repeatedly, all categories of road users and all hazards on the road have to be addressed. Pedestrian, pedecyclists, motorcyclists, animal-drawn vehicles, everything. That is what we say in a comprehensive approach. Not just going out on the road and pull off some couple truck and all. That is not going to work. Read what people in Tom said today, and I agree with most of the things that he said. We don't have time here to go into all of that. But having talked about that, there's another worrying thing that I read. Businessman threatens to shoot cop after obstructing traffic. Businessman on the East Coast is alleged to have been obstructing the traffic. And when the young traffic police, approached him for him to move, he pulled a gun and threatened the police. And the police said in their release, suddenly this businessman ain't get name. I think they say from Lusitana or somewhere Animal or Arnold there, somewhere there, that he ain't get name, no name. But imagine this thing has gotten so lawless, and they're singing praises to the man who sits in the chair, that a man will feel emboldened to pull a gun on a young policeman who directing traffic and telling him that is blocking the traffic. That the lawlessness you have. And then murders continue to. They are given some figure, 32% increase over the past week. Fisherman stabbed to death by his brother. And then we had a peacemaker killed at on the Camp Baghdad. Something with some altercation. 2 more murders we have had. And then a very disturbing one as well, reported. This is the level of lawlessness we're talking about. And this is what the president is satisfied, that the man who sits in the chair is doing a good job. So stay on, man. Stay on forever. Stay on until I decide that I want you off. Girl 11, some 11-year girl is raped by 3 boys when she was leaving her home to go to lessons. She's been sent to lessons and she is raped by 3 boys. Dudley, agree with you? Let me put up the comment. I agree with you. Dudley saying here that in Jamaica, it would have been the last gun he pulls. I agree. You got a businessman pulling a gun on the police because the police tell him that he obstructing the traffic. Even assume for argument's sake that the policeman was wrong, you pulling a gun on the police. In some jurisdiction, as my friend said, in some jurisdiction, he would never be wrong to pull a next gun. And then people say, "Oh, you're preaching violence." I'm not preaching violence. Policeman has a right to protect himself. We're saying this all along, despite what the thing saying. We don't criticize. We criticize where criticism is due. We have always said on this program, they are upright, law-abiding, honest, hard-working police ranks. Even at some of the leadership levels. But I continue to say that you cannot have any meaningful change in the force when certain people sit down in certain senior positions. Nothing meaningful is going to take place. And I will maintain that. I will maintain. So when this thing right, that I attacking management thing and even the junior, we don't attack nobody. If you're at fault, we call you out for it. And they should appreciate that. The administration and the government should appreciate that. Then we have again here, again, sad story. Sad story. 2 children died in a mobilist accident. That might be a fire yesterday or something. 2 children, I think it's 6 and 3-year-old. This is the place that we live. This is the country in which we live. Almost every day, it's a tragedy. You read this morning, some woman at one is telling, she fell overboard, she drowned. That is what we have. That is the reality. Is now we making up these things. We just bringing it to attention. And I am saying that the powers that be got to deal with these issues. They have to deal with the issues. Have to put things like, for example, the traffic. We said again, the traffic is a national problem. And what the police doing, this knee-jerk approach by the police to pulling a minibus, pulling a couple truck, that is not going to solve the problem. That is not going to solve the problem. It requires a comprehensive review from the time we talk about the licensing right through engineering, everything. How is it that a 21-year-old, examine it, he might have acquired it legally. A 21-year-old get to drive a truck. He might have acquired it legally. But should we not examine to see if at that relatively young age, a person should be given license to drive a truck that fetching tons and tons of sand and other load? And as we know in Guyana, given the narrowness of the roads, is a potential death trap or death is an hazard. Should we not look at all of those things? Should we not? So I'm saying these things to titillate the thinking. Some of them, nothing going to titillate the thinking. None of them at all. And they're going to come, they're going to tell you all kind of things. All kind of things. And in closing, before I invite Mr. Conway to make his closing remarks, I want again to invite you to, there's an article on my page, both Speaking Out and my personal page. You know, Adam Harris writes a thing called Adam's Notebook. And Adam wrote his last notebook, I think it was written on the 3rd of August. And the man pointed out something in relation to this Madja fire. Buddy, oh Lord, Madja fire, where they're bullying, they're still bullying, and he called names, bullying these people to accept this agreement of this $5 million for the children who died. He said a minister flew in, they're flying with helicopter and plane to go in there to bully the people, give them at 500,000 as advance, and bullying them to tell them if they don't sign, they might end up with nothing and all that. Read Adam's notebook. That is what is going on. Read Adam's notebook. Another thing that I invite you to read is Stabrook News talking about Charandas Prasad. The name is in the thing again, that they discover that Charandas may still be traveling on diplomatic passport. So, we tell you over and over, they wrote to say that Charandas is still on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs payroll. So they come and they show things, smoke in front of your face and try to hoodwink you. Charandas, as admitted by the Foreign Affairs Minister, is still on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs payroll. And the suggestion is that he may still be using a diplomatic passport. The disgraced Charandas. That's what we're talking about. That's the lawlessness that is prevailing in our beloved country. That is the level of lawlessness. But Eric, me, Eric talk, and that is one for the thing to find out. The thing should go and find out who got caught with wet money. Go and find out. The thing coming after me, by now you recognize I am there, sir. I am there in that line. So go and find out who get caught with wet money. Right? So go and find out. So let me invite Mr. Conway to make his closing remarks. CC, your closing remarks.
Just forward thinking, Paul. This coming weekend, Sunday, Rising Sun, we have the Ghana Cup and a super concert. Massive event at West Coast Barbies, my birthplace. The thing is that I hope that the commander who is new to that location in terms of command, I hope that he has his operation plan. I hope his plan, we use the term IIMAC, information, including risk assessment, intention, method, administration, and communication. I hope they have proper plans in place before, during, and after the event. We had already had disaster during those big events. I hope that he was able to present his operation plan to the executive leadership team. I hope he get his support from Region 6, Region 5, Region 4C, and Georgetown so that that event can be properly policed. We knew what happened previously, and I hope that they stay focused on it, and I hope that events will run smoothly for the Ghana Cup and the super concert that will take place after the horse racing. I wish them well.
Right. Thank you, my brother. Thank you much. Thank you much. I see what Jam1 talking about whooping and shaking the dingaling. Well, you gotta get dingaling for shake, Them thing don't get dingaling, they sit down on the thing, whatever they get. So let me understand. Now, yeah, I have a slide up there inviting people. There is this Coffee 250, Sunday, 1 o'clock, Critchlow. Let's all go there and hear what people have to say. I am a presenter on that panel. And I want to again close by telling you to be safe. I implore you every week to be safe on the roads because, going up on the road is a dangerous thing. But out thing walking in, guy, and even going sitting down to take a drink, to take a lime, as in the case of Dr. Sam, bullet can find you and kill you. And then I read where dengue fever in Barbies on the rise. So, folks, you have got to do everything to make sure that you are safe. Everything to make sure that you're safe. And as we would normally say, all goes well. God spare life. Next Wednesday at 11 o'clock, we'll be here again to tell you about to address another issue or issues on speaking out, exposing corruption and incompetence. Until then, stay safe and bye.